Hey guys, I'm Nick and welcome to Sci-Finatics. As always, we're talking all things Picard today, and we have a special treat on the live stream today. I am joined by fellow Sci-Fanatic I'd like to welcome from Egotastic Funtime. It's JP.
Hello, everyone. Hey, gang. How's it going?
Hey, thanks for joining us, JP.
How you doing, Nick?
Good, I'm doing very well. So, Star Trek Picard, we're definitely getting to the pointy end of the season now, coming in at episode 7 this week. How are you liking the show so far?
I'm really digging it. I went into Picard with... Hold on a second. I have to take the video off because I'm seeing myself and I don't like doing that.
Okay.
No.
Seeing yourself as, it's always...
I hate seeing myself. I'm loving Picard so far. I went into it... I'm not a fan of Discovery at all, and I've really nitpicked it apart over the years. Everyone knows my opinions on that. But I decided, just like I did, I gave Discovery, even after really disliking their first season, I went into the second season saying, okay, I'm going to forget all of that. I'm going to start fresh and new. And then pretty quickly I was like, okay, I'm going to forget everything from the previous episode. I'm going to go fresh and new with every new episode just to see how each episode stands on its own, or if there's improvements and stuff like that. I did the same thing with Picard. I didn't go in with a positive attitude. I just didn't actively go in with a negative attitude. And so now I was able to see,
and a lot of people did do
all
that.
these little storylines. Of course, that's the case with anything. That's just what social media and the internet has done.
And look, and if you go into expecting something to fail before you've even given it a chance, then chances are you'll have trouble convincing yourself otherwise. But if you go in with an open mind, you're always, I think, can be pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, and I'm more than pleasantly surprised. Because I'm really seeing this storyline that's really going down a path that I like. I'm seeing these characters being taken care of in a certain way and portrayed in a certain way that was really realistic to, this being 20 years later and the things that they've gone through in their own lives. And then I apply that to my own situation, my own life, a life that we all have where, people say, oh, Picard wouldn't do this or that. And I'm like, well, I couldn't say that somebody I knew 20 years ago, how they would respond to any situation in this day and age if I haven't even had any contact with them for the last 20 years. People have life experiences. People, their attitudes adjust. But so far, I see Picard, fully Picard, inside of this new character, because he is new after 20 years.
And look, I think one thing that the show has done very well is it has definitely paid homage to Next Generation. It hasn't, pissed all over Next Generation. It actually honoured a lot of the things that were set up in that, with references and, I think it's a lot closer to what we remember than, say, as you said, particularly the first season of Discovery was.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm still not a big fan of Discovery, though there was, little bits and pieces. I'm like, ooh, that part was cool. That part's cool. It just doesn't outweigh. It doesn't outweigh the stuff that I don't like. But
clearly it needs work. Season 2 was a vast improvement on season 1. Season 1 almost completely lost me, but
especially since I have ideas where I'm like, oh, if they did this one episode, it would have fixed everything.
Yeah.
Would have fixed everything, but it's too late for that. But exactly. I still always had hope. I was always rooting for Discovery, just because it is, taking place in a Star Trek universe, and that of course is going to interest me. So I've always rooted for it to do better and to be better, and I'm looking forward to season 3. But just because if season 3 happens to be good or pretty decent, doesn't mean it's going to take away all those feelings from it's not going to save the previous 2 seasons.
I think if anything,
but I don't have any of this baggage. I don't have any of this baggage with Picard.
Yeah. Oh, look, I mean, if anything, now I think the fact that Picard is doing much better than Discovery was, and I think the general feedback and comments from the fan base have been more positive towards Picard than they have been towards Discovery. I think there's even that extra level of pressure now on Discovery. It's just like, okay, well, Picard has kind of, put you guys on notice almost. This is how it's doing it better. We're getting the respect to what's come before a lot more in this show, and I think it's like, well, okay, you guys got to step up now.
Yeah. Well, one big difference with Picard, the Picard series, which people were complaining, oh, this isn't the TNG Star Trek, this isn't the TNG timeline. I'm like, oh, you mean exactly like they told you it wasn't going to be?
Yes.
That this was not the TNG?
Exactly.
Just, based on it. This is the Picard timeline, in my opinion. Yep. But it's for me, I don't have any of that baggage so far from what was done with Discovery. Also, Picard doesn't have to deal with what Discovery was. Discovery was an intrusion upon a known part of the Star Trek timeline. It was rewriting what we already, as fans, already pretty much know, a part of the timeline that we know better than any other.
Which
part of the
is
time,
always the
timeline.
danger when you decide to do a prequel show. When you do a prequel show, you are limiting yourself into this very confined space that has a set of rules. Stuff's come before. You have to kind of fit into that box that's been previously set. And that's one of the reasons why I'm not a huge fan of prequels, because it limits storytelling so much. You have to respect all of these rules that have been previously established. Whereas if you move forward in the timeline, as we've done with Picard, it's open slather. We haven't tread this ground before. It's open to new storytelling. The fans aren't going to be completely up in arms that you're changing canon or things that have been established or whatever. You're every step you take is a fresh one. So
Picard is an addition to the franchise. And like I said, Discovery was an intrusion upon the franchise, and so it's going to be very different the way they're perceived. There's certain things you just can't complain about.
That's right.
With Picard, because a lot of complaints that I see are people saying stuff like, "Oh, this wouldn't happen or that wouldn't happen." I'm like, you have no idea. You're making assumptions upon this fairy tale that you've come up with in your head, and you're applying those rules that were never established onto something that never agreed to those rules, right? Exactly. So this is an addition. As long as it's as long as it's going where it's going, for me, I'm loving to see where this version of the Star Trek universe is going, because I've said this many times before. Star Trek has always embraced the multiverse, especially in TNG, especially in the TNG Season 7 episode Parallels, where we see all of those different enterprises in the same space, all with different storylines from different universes, all colliding right there in the same spot. And I'm just, in my opinion, I'm like, well, that third Enterprise from the left over there that you see, that's the Enterprise. That's the timeline we're playing out right here. Yeah. With CBS Trek, because I don't think this Picard series or the Discovery series need to be part of that original canon Star Trek timeline. In fact, it's dangerous to even pretend that it is. In CBS, I do not know why they won't, whether they believe it or not. I don't know why they just won't send out a tweet saying, "Oh, this is a different universe," but it's all connected by the multiverse.
Indeed.
You can have it connected, but still be separate.
Correct. Hey to the viewers, by the way. Thanks. I've got our first super chat from Hiroshi. We'll just have a little bit of a... Yay, first super chat. Thanks, Hiroshi. Since the Borg are in Picard, have you ever imagined the Mirror Universe Borg? Wouldn't those be weird? Mirror Universe Borg.
They'd probably be groovy, happy people. They'd probably be a lot like those hippies from the original series.
Yes, you're probably right.
They probably just go around giving people technology instead of assimilating.
Would they be all robotic on the inside and all, I don't know, biological on the outside or something, or the reverse somehow? Would they?
Well, maybe, because we already have that now with Dodge and Soji.
This is true, exactly. Hey, we've got some new production stills that just came out yesterday from CBS, showcasing
for the next episode.
Shall we take a look at those?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so here we go. So our first still here is obviously of Picard and Soji, and it looks like they're probably on this heavily wooded planet, which I'm assuming is Nepenthe. Having probably just come,
Gotta be, right?
Yeah, gotta be. Having probably just come through was it the spatial trajector?
Spatial trajector, which
spatial
was
trajector. Yep.
Yeah, which was first introduced in Voyager.
This is correct. Yes, I think it was an early season 1 episode from memory.
Yeah, they had this opportunity. They met the Sicarians, and the Sicarians had the trajector, and they're like, "Oh, this will cut our trip in half." But then there was some, rules that they, the Prime Directive, they did that was an issue with that.
Yeah.
With getting that train.
Yeah, I remember the Sicarians being like really arrogant douchebags. I think from memory, they were all nice and sweet and very very hospitable. But then they kind of turned out to be just really arrogant and they
had their little ponytails and all that stuff.
Little curly kind of like little halo-y things on their heads or something, I think, from memory.
Something like that. I don't like to talk too much about alien hairstyles from Voyager. Voyager had very weird alien hairstyles.
Yeah, who did the makeup on Voyager? Oh, it wasn't
Fidel Sassoon.
Yeah, yes, clearly trying to sell a bit of product, I think. So obviously this is Picard and Soji just having come through the gateway there, obviously on Nepenthe, and next we go to now when we first started seeing shots of this girl in trailers going back as far as I think it was even like December, like before Christmas, if I'm not mistaken, JP. I thought, it can't possibly be Riker and Troy's daughter. She's got blonde hair. But it seems like that she is. It seems like that this...
Possibly, or she could just be a neighbor or a friend of Kestra's.
No, it is Kestra. Though when these stills came out, there was actually like a blurb, that actually said...
Why'd she act like a weirdo? Why's she wearing all that weird garb and acts like a lost boy?
Yeah, yes, she's got the whole war paint on. She's running around in the forest with a bow and arrow, obviously shooting small animals. Isn't that the first step to becoming a serial killer? I'm not sure.
Unless you got to eat, I guess.
Yeah, isn't that what a replicator's for? I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's true. If they have them there, we don't even know quite the situation they're going to be in. Though they have very nice kitchen counters.
They do have very nice kitchen counters. They've got that nice wood grain finish and some nice, probably some nice marble bench tops, and perhaps they're going to be in the next episode of Star Trek, interior design or something like that. So in this shot we've got Picard obviously introducing Soji to Kestra. Although she doesn't look like she's got her war paint on in this photo. So if I had to guess, I'd say maybe this could be from the end of the episode, because at the start of the episode when they meet, it looks like she's running around the woods with a bow and arrow, shooting small animals or something.
I'm guessing they're going to be on the planet. I'm guessing they're going to be on the planet for a couple days, because I do know that Nepenthe is 2 days
away at high warp or whatever.
Away at maximum warp.
Yep.
Also, when we go through the pictures, you'll see that Troy has a couple outfits that she wears.
So it looks like it looks like Picard and Soji are going to be on this planet with Riker and Troy for a few days there, doesn't it? So that'll be interesting to see how many barbecues they have at the Riker Troy residence or whatever.
Yeah, well, I'm sure. Yeah, it does kind of seem like it's going to be, at least on the Picard side of the story, it's going to be, a chilled out episode on his side, whereas the rest of the crew, who's still stuck over by the Romulan cube trying to escape,
it's going to be high action.
Well, that will be all that. That's where the action.
Yeah.
Yeah. This will be getting Soji caught up, Picard gathering his thoughts, getting advice from Riker, and maybe even. I'm sure Deanna's going to be like, "Oh, I sense something about you. You're keeping something from us," or something like that.
Indeed. Next one, we've got Deanna Troy. Looks like she's picking tomatoes.
It kind of reminds me of that episode of TNG with Reggie in the holodeck, and she was kind of like that goddess.
Oh, that's right. Yes, she was like done up as a kind of Greek goddess or whatever, wasn't she? Mm-hmm. And she was sort of was she playing like a a harp or a lute or something, or was she just sort of lounging around looking very kind of seductive or something? I think from
I can't remember.
something
I
like
was,
that.
it was something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
I just remember my jaw was dropped.
Yes, yes. So obviously they're big on the growing of the fruit at their house here, and the hunting of the animals. So obviously they're living a very organic sort of lifestyle, it would seem.
Yeah, and I'm wondering why they're on Nepenthe, whatever that planet is. Why are they on it? I do know that Riker was the captain of the Titan,
Correct.
and Troy was with him. Are they no longer part of Starfleet, or have they retired, or are they just
Interesting
on,
question.
you know, or are they just like, oh, we got to go home some point, so
Yeah,
we're on leave for 3 months?
exactly. This is exactly what I was actually just just about to ask you. Yeah, are they? Is the Titan still active? Are they both retired now and living a comfortable lifestyle on Nepenthe, or are they just kind of on, as you said, on shore leave? They're sort of taken a couple of weeks of leave, and they've gone to hang out at the holiday house on Nepenthe for for a
Yeah,
month or
because I
something.
can't imagine it. Because we have this idea. Because it's we don't think of this stuff that much, really. It's like you can't imagine every Starfleet officer is just on a ship for the rest of their
Oh,
life.
exactly.
They have to have vacations and shore leaves, but not even that. They have to have extended leave. Like, I'm off for a year, and then after a year, I'm called up to active duty. That type of
Correct.
thing.
But I suppose the question is, I mean, obviously people are living longer in the Star Trek universe. Healthcare and everything has probably been, improved somewhat. And you'd say, because I
Well,
think Picard's.
if you're within the Federation.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Because Picard, I think in this show is probably meant to be in his 90s or something. To
Yeah,
that
he's in his
effect.
mid-90s.
Yeah. So if we're saying that people, are living to 100 plus in this part of the timeline, then what Riker and Troy would probably be meant to be in their kind of late 60s, I suppose.
Probably, but that's probably like accurate in real life too, isn't it?
Yeah. In which case,
They're probably about that age
but the
anyway.
question is, is retirement in the future? Is the retirement age, 75 or even, or 80 even, so in which case, are these guys
It's
on,
probably just when you want,
yeah, just hang out
whenever you want.
as long as you want, and then you can go and live an organic lifestyle eating tomatoes on some planet out somewhere in the galaxy. Yeah. Okay. So what do we got next? We've got Picard and Troy, obviously meeting in their little veggie patch for the first time, or for obviously it seems like it's been. I get the impression from the clips we've seen in the trailers that it has been a few years since these guys have crossed paths. It doesn't.
Yeah, I'm sure they've kept up a little bit. Also, I'm guessing this scene and the previous scene take place like the next day.
Oh, because she's got the
Yeah.
the pink top on there.
Yeah, so this is probably a conversation like, "Come on, Jean-Luc, why are you really here?
Yeah.
Let's talk."
Yes. But yeah, I think it'll be, because I think it also looks like, actually, does it look like Picard's wearing one of Riker's shirts in this shot? Because you know how Riker's got that that kind of butcher's apron on, and then he's sort of got like a kind of a linen grey shirt on underneath it. Because you know how if we just go back a couple of shots, hang on a sec. If I go back,
Well, I do know the collar is different than Riker's.
like this outfit here is obviously what Picard's wearing when he rocks up to Nepenthe, having come through the spatial trajector. And if you look at this shirt here, he's wearing one of Riker's shirts, isn't he? He's saying, "Oh,
Something." Well, it's very it's baggy.
It's
I don't
very
know if
baggy
it's that
on it,
baggy.
yeah.
But it's similar. It's more appropriate to
Because it's not like he packed a
the dress
suitcase
everyone
coming
else
through
has
the trajector,
got.
was it? He just came through the trajector in the clothes he happened to have on. So I reckon he's going, "Oh, Will, do you mind if I just borrow this top? It's getting a bit smelly. Do you mind if I just borrow one of your shirts?"
Unless they have a replicator, and then they could just say, "Here, I made you a shirt to wear
This is true.
because you stink.
Yes.
You smell like Borg."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I reckon that you're dead on there. And so this is obviously this is, as you say, this is the outfit that they arrive in, because obviously Troy's wearing the blue top in this one, and Picard's got his little black. Is it leather? That leather sort of fleecy kind of leather vest on.
Yeah, it's kind of leathery, black with gray. I'm guessing this scene here is Soji. And Deanna's like, hello, Soji.
Hello, Soji, yes. And obviously Kestra has got the war paint on. She's got the arrows over her shoulder.
Yeah, what is up with that?
Yes.
I'm like, what is going on?
Exactly.
She's too old. She's too old to be playing like, little kid games.
Well, hang on. That's another very good question. Why isn't she at school? She's clearly like, what, 14, maybe 15, perhaps?
I don't know. Maybe older. I mean, who she might have graduated early. Or it's just summer vacation.
This is what
Or she can get, in the future, you could totally just get an education at home, no problem, with all the technology they got.
Yeah, yeah. And look, this is what makes me think these guys are on like shore leave or vacation rather than being retired. Because I thought if Troy and Riker had retired from Starfleet and they're living out a retirement existence in their cabin in the woods, if it was just them, I'd kind of say, yep, okay, that fits. But because Kestra's here with them and she's kind of a school-age daughter, I'd say maybe does that mean that the likelihood of them actually just being on kind of shore leave or vacation here for a little bit is of a higher likelihood? Because otherwise she'd be at school.
I would vote against vacation, because how did Picard know they were on Nepenthe?
Yes, that's true. Because obviously, yes, unless he knows that their holiday house is on Nepenthe.
True, that's true. Maybe this is the house they always go to, and he knew it was that time of year.
Yeah, where they like to go and pick tomatoes and drink wine and eat cheese or something. They're space Amish. Nice one, Zed. Okay, moving on to the next shot. Okay, so this is obviously our shot as Picard comes in the door of the Riker residence.
This is the hello, Will.
This is the hello, and obviously Will turns around in shock, and chin drops to the ground, as we've seen in a couple of different previous different trailer shots.
Do you think we'll see his trombone?
Ooh, it depends.
It
depends how many glasses of red wine they consume over dinner, I suppose.
No, I wonder if it'll be like sitting in the back or something like that, or if they'll mention it. I wouldn't mind seeing in the back, but I do hope they don't mention it.
You hope they do mention it or don't mention it?
They don't. I hope they don't mention it, but I would like to see it just like sitting in the corner or something.
Maybe it will be kind of hanging over the fireplace, like a in pride of position sort of thing, in the lounge room or something like that, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
Just providing he doesn't have like a photo of Minuet or anything on the mantelpiece as well. That might be a bit weird.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay, what have we got next? Okay, so this is obviously our first meeting. Riker's had a big shock, turned around. There's Picard, and Picard's obviously saying here, giving them a bit of a fill-in on what's been going on for him in recent weeks.
Oh yeah, I'm here. You got an extra? Can I sleep on the couch?
Yeah, that's right. What's with the brown apron? Do you think that's just them? Is that? I don't know.
Well, it kind of looks like there's flour on it, so I'm assuming he was cooking.
Okay, maybe he's like skinning one of the wild animals that Kestra's just bow and arrowed in the woods or something, and he's just
I bet you he's a baker.
Busy gutting it. Yeah, it does look very bakery or something along those lines.
Looks kind of like Geppetto-y.
Yes. Which would.
But I'm sure he was just doing domestic stuff in the kitchen.
That's right.
That's all it was.
Yeah. Well, I think if I'm not mistaken, the first trailer shot with Deanna in this outfit or whatever, she was wearing like gardening gloves or something. I think when she
I remember. She's holding them in a previous picture.
Yeah. So because when she gives Jean-Luc a hug or something, I think she's got the gardening gloves on. She's maybe been potting a few tomato plants or something in the veggie garden. Riker's obviously inside baking bread or whatever he's doing.
He's doing something like that. I guarantee it.
Yeah.
Gotta be.
I'm trying to remember whether they had a particular, penchant for anything like that in Next Generation, but I don't remember them having a particular...
Yeah, I was trying to remember too. I'm like, did Riker ever express an interesting... Oh, he was the chef. He was the chef in Enterprise in that last episode.
Riker was? Oh, that's right, he was too, yes. I'd completely forgotten about that.
Yeah, he was cooking the whole time in through that episode.
Yeah, that's right, because Neelix left... Yeah, that's right, because Neelix left to go and live with another Talaxian chick or whatever somewhere in the Delta Quadrant.
No, this is an Enterprise.
Oh, sorry, yes, Enterprise. Sorry, I'm thinking Voyager. Yes, when you said chef, I'm for some reason thinking the kitchen, the chef kitchen stuff that Neelix would do on Voyager. You're right.
Oh yeah. No, in Enterprise, he was, because throughout the entire Enterprise series, they were always referring to chef, but we never met chef.
Right.
And then in the finale, Riker played the chef in the Holo program.
This is true. Yes. I'd totally forgotten about that. But
yeah, me too. Jill's right then.
Yeah. I can't remember whether... I mean, obviously there was the penchant for trombone playing and poker, but I don't remember any kind of culinary apart from that one reference in Enterprise. I can't recall.
Yeah, that's it.
Any culinary hobbies from either of them, but obviously it looks like they've taken to it in their older years.
Yeah, well, Deanna's culinary hobby was eating chocolate
ice cream. Yes, maybe they're making organic, ice cream or something. They're growing cocoa beans or something and growing their own.
Possibly.
Yeah.
I don't know what Nepenthe is good for growing.
I'm sure we'll find out. Well, at least we know tomatoes for one thing, obviously.
Yeah.
We've got another shot here of Riker and Picard. It does look like he's got some flour or something on that apron now that this is sort of a closer shot. So maybe you might be on the money with the whole baking some fresh bread or something in the kitchen there, or
something like that, because they wouldn't have that. I mean, production just wouldn't have. Prop designers wouldn't have that on his. I guess it's an apron. If he wasn't doing something that was involved with that.
Exactly, yeah. And
or at least it would be the other option is like, sawdust, but then he wouldn't have been in the kitchen. He would have been in a workshop or something, in the barn.
Yep. Samuel, we've actually, there's a shot coming up, just talking about nice dinner, wine and music. There's a shot coming up in these production stills, which we're getting to in a minute, which sort of shows them almost having a bit of a barbecue type thing with, a bottle of wine and and a bit of a cheese platter or some cut up tomatoes or something going on. In this shot here, is that little, because they've never referenced it or whatever, is the little badge that Picard wears.
I did a whole video about that a few months ago. I figured out what it was.
Is that the logo for the La Sirena?
What I did is I figured out, I compared it because it looked kind of like Romulan to me, and I know that Romulan's writing is top to bottom.
Yes.
And so I went and compared the two symbols that make up the top and bottom of that pin to the Romulan text, and I figured out that it's PS, Patrick Stewart's initials.
Right, okay. So it's basically two Romulan alphabetical characters.
Yes, right. Yeah. One on the top and one on the bottom, and they kind of mirror up and down, and they look exactly like the letter P and the letter S in Romulan text.
Nice little Easter egg there.
Yeah, it just hit me. I was like, I wonder what that is. So I started doing research, and I put out. It was in one of my videos from last year. I can't remember which one.
But it hasn't been referenced in the show or anything, has it? There's no.
Correct.
Have we seen that logo anywhere else on the show apart from on his pin?
I haven't looked for it, but I don't believe so.
Okay. I was initially thinking, was it the insignia or something from the ship or something, from the Rios' ship? But maybe...
because we don't know we don't know where that ship comes from, what race built it, who was the previous owner.
And we want to know these things,
maybe
don't we?
Yeah, we as Star Trek fans, we love that stuff.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's not super important to me at the moment because I know this show is set up serialized so that information is dolled out a little at a time. But the La Serena, I haven't even gotten a good shot of the outside of it yet.
No.
I don't even know if it has any call letters on it.
Yes. And look, I think the only time it's been mentioned, the actual name La Serena has been mentioned in an episode was, I think, on air traffic control at the casino planet. Refresh my memory.
Free Cloud.
Free Cloud, yes. Are we still on? Can people still hear me? My image seems to have frozen on my on OBS. Are we still transmitting here?
Let me see. Looks like we are.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's the main thing. Just there. My picture on.
Oh, you're frozen.
I'm frozen.
You're frozen. I'm not.
Okay. How do I fix that?
No clue. It's a good freeze frame.
Is it okay? Yeah. All right. I'm just wondering.
You might have to go into your camera, change it on OBS, change it to some other source, and then change it back and see if that helps.
Okay, let me just quickly do this. Sorry, guys, for the.
There's no type of live stream that doesn't have a technical difficulty. So you just if you need to fix something, you just fix it. We're gonna have a good time here.
Okay, so
Samuel Mum says there will be a nice dinner with wine and music. I have no doubt that is true, Samuel. Sitting outside, maybe a campfire would be lovely. Join me for Star Trek tonight.
Okay. Can you still hear me, JP?
Oh yeah, I hear you perfectly.
Okay, so you can hear me okay, you just can't see me. I wonder if I've just tried to I'm still framed there, okay.
How you doing to Dawson68 Dawson? Who says greetings.
Okay, so I might try. I wonder if I switch my camera off and on again, is that going to kill the stream?
No.
No.
Only pressing end stream should end the stream. Whether or not it'll fix the issue, we don't know. But there's already an issue, so it can't get right.
All right. I will attempt turning my camera off and on again and see if that helps us.
SC says, hell, even the board cube is clean. Yeah, the board cube is very interesting. It was kind of cool in the last episode when Picard beams in really quickly, but you can see the walls adjusting itself and kind of adapting to I don't know what the hell that is, but it is a cool effect. Don't know what purpose that is supposed to be, except for just to be cool, but that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I definitely feel that's something they would have done if they had the technology to make that happen back in the day.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Okay. This is troubling me. I'm still frozen in that frame, and I'm.
Yeah. Did you change the camera to a different camera source? Like you double click on camera or whatever you're using as your video source. Double click on that, it'll give you a list of things to be your camera, and if you just pick something else,
right,
and then go right back to your actual camera, it might fix it.
Okay. I've clicked on that one.
Pleasure to meet you too, DJ.
Hey DJ, thanks for coming as always, mate. Cheers. So you can't hear me. You can't see me. You're going to hear me at the moment. My streaming software seems to have stalled.
Yeah, these things always happen. Justin Brown says, always try turning it off and on again. The Cube movie. I remember the Cube movie. Samuel, what the heck was that? The Cube movie. Can't remember if I liked it or if it was dumb. I can't remember. But I do remember watching something called The Cube. Wasn't it like some sort of contest or a test? Your voice just went a lot deeper, said Zed Boy, which means there is that's a bandwidth thing.
Right. Okay. A bandwidth. So what the
like the bandwidth got slower, which makes it sound like your voice is slower, and then it might go back.
Let me try to add a new. Is it just no game image media source?
To me, you sound fine, but
Okay.
that's because I'm listening to you through Skype.
Yeah, this is true. Okay. Media source. Sorry.
Cheers, fellow Trekkies.
I'll go back to the slideshow while I'm. So actually, I'm.
Ooh,
I think I might be.
DJ might have saw my video.
I think I might be. Am I back again?
I don't see you yet, but there's a delay on the video from
feed.
when I see.
I think I.
DJ says, JP, what do you think about the lore theory? That's a theory. Oh, there you are. You're coming back.
I'm coming back again. Hey.
Yeah, you're back.
I'm back again.
You're back.
Excellent. Maybe my kids are using the internet. Make sure you kids aren't using my internet.
That could be part of it, or your neighbor or something.
Yeah. Oh, well, good. I'm back in again. All right, so let's go to the next image there. Sorry about the slight hiccup in transmission there. Okay, so we've got another look. I think Jonathan Frakes, he's looking quite good as Riker in shot. I think. Initially, when I saw some kind of photos over the years of him being interviewed post TNG, when he's just doing his directing thing, I was sort of thinking, maybe kind of there's a few images of him just as Jonathan Frakes where you think maybe he's sort of looking a bit old or a bit weathered or something. But actually,
he is a bit old and a bit weathered.
Yes, but they've spruced him up.
I know
they've spruced him up.
They spruced him up a little bit because he is in front of the camera. But also, the first thing you do, especially if you're him and you're nervous about being in front of the camera, he was terrified to return to acting for this role. He was so scared to do it, and especially since he knew that Patrick Stewart is as amazing as he is and still in practice, and Marina Sirtis is still in practice. He hasn't acted in like almost 10 years, so he was terrified to do it. But as I know with most actors, when you get a role, the first thing you do is you start going to the gym.
Yes.
So he probably healthed up a little bit, got ready for it, and of course. They prettied him up in the makeup department when he got in front of the camera.
Yeah, exactly. And look, I think he's been directing for so many years. He knows what he has to tell actors to get the right performance out of them. So all he needs to do is listen to his own advice, really. He's been spending a lot of time coaching actors from the director's chair. If he just listens to his own words, I'm sure they will give him all the advice he needs to reprise the role. Because he obviously hasn't played. He wouldn't have acted since he played Riker last time, I assume, because he did
one small role in some little indie thing like 10 years ago.
Right.
But also, I mean, as long as he's just saying his words with convictions, I don't think he would have a problem slipping into Riker, because I really have never seen a difference between Jonathan Frakes and Riker. They've always seemed to be the same person,
yes.
to me, in front of or behind the camera.
Yeah. So we've got Riker and Picard looking off into the distance here.
Mm-hmm. Very much seems like it goes together with the couple pictures ago.
Correct.
When the two of them are standing. And I'm guessing in that previous picture, or maybe this scene here, Soji says something interesting, where they're both like, "Wait, what?"
Or maybe Soji is doing something interesting. Like when we saw Daj activate, she started exhibiting what only could be described as sort of superhero-esque powers, like leaping through the air, and obviously she activated in the last episode. She was punching.
Soji basically activated 5 minutes before they made it to Nepenthe.
Yep. and she's been punching her way through floor plates and stuff on the Borg ship. So maybe I don't know. Maybe Riker's said we're having a barbecue tonight. Can you chop some wood for us? And she's kind of doing it manually or something.
Oh, maybe she's just taking down one tree at a time.
Maybe
with bare hands.
It looks like they're looking at something that's sort of in the distance,
kinda.
that's sort of. I'm guessing maybe is sort of Soji exhibiting, some of her abilities, which they're observing, perhaps.
Yeah, that's good. That seems about right to me. I mean, we'll find out in a day or two.
Yes.
But yeah, that seems. I'm going with you on that one. That sounds great.
And here's our little. They're having a glass of wine and some cheese and crackers and some slices of fresh tomato here. It's afternoon, afternoon nibbles with a bottle
nobody's
of red.
chasing them. They're not worried about someone taking them out.
Okay. My voice is still deeper, by the way. Okay. I'm not sure I can. I'm not sure I can do anything about that. I've turned the camera off and on again.
Maybe your microphone turn on and off again.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Let me just.
Don't know if it'll help.
I can.
I think it might be.
Yeah. I can. I think all I can do is I can mute.
Good tea, nice house.
Good tea, yes. Oh, thank you. Good tea, nice house. Good tea, nice house is one of my my subscribers from way back. Thank you so much for the super chat. We'll have to do it. There we go, super chat. Thank you so much for the super chat. Good tea, much appreciated. Sci-Finatics and Mr. Funtime's on the same live stream. Is it Christmas already? So happy to see that you both have connected on
Every
YouTube.
day.
Yes.
Every day is Christmas, if you believe.
It is. Every day is. It's good that we could come together because we have fairly similar kind of channels, so it made sense to join forces and to put our powers to good and not evil.
Yeah, and talk about Star Trek. That's always a good time.
It is. So yes,
it's always a good time, even when it's a bad time.
Correct. Absolutely.
Depending on what Star Trek you're talking about.
Okay. So yeah. So what are they? Can we see what they're actually? What are they eating? They got a cheese board, some slices of tomato, a bottle of red in the background. They both got the glasses of wine, having maybe it's a bit of Chateau Picard, which Riker's had in the wine cellar.
Yeah. I hope it's not. That's very, very likely. Oh, I still have a Chateau Picard. Very, very likely, but I hope it's not a Chateau Picard for once in this series, because these things are for sale.
Oh,
fans
seriously?
can buy these things. So I'm hoping that it's not another, pimping out a product, disco T-shirt type of situation.
Right, okay.
It's fine to do it sometimes, but you can't do it every single time. So I'm hoping it's not. Might have to call them out if it is.
Yes. I mean, they obviously would have, the props department would have made a crap ton of bottles of Chateau Picard, for the earlier episodes. So they've clearly just got a whole bunch in the props department standing by. And,
well, yeah, they've brought that Chateau Picard bottle out in it was in Nemesis.
Yes.
They all toasted with Chateau Picard for Data after Data died.
That's true. Yes, they did. I remember that. Yeah. So clearly, I mean, obviously the bottle is too far away in the background to see, and it's out of focus. But I mean, it.
Hopefully, it's like Beta Z wine. He's like, yo, Chateau. Hey, it'd be great if they said, "Oh, want some wine?" And he's like, "Chateau Picard."
Or maybe
and they're like, "No,
or maybe in the field down past the tomato plants, perhaps they have a vineyard and it's Chateau Riker, and then they go.
Maybe they're just drinking tomato wine. They're like, they just eat all they eat is tomatoes.
Yeah, exactly. So this is obviously a little bit later on in the evening, where they've probably drunk about 6 or 8 glasses of wine by now, and they're sitting. I can't tell whether they're actually sitting outside or whether they're sitting inside. I think might be inside, but
Looks kind of like a plant in the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could go either way.
Because obviously
These people got some nice living
they're
conditions
sitting
here.
outside on the sort of outdoor setting there, but obviously he's got a wall behind him there. So whether they've now moved inside or whatever, and they've had dinner and all of these shots. There was a shot of Riker in an earlier trailer that came out last year, which had this frame. He looks very worried in these shots. He looks quite disturbed and quite worried. I've noticed in these frames.
I'm sure he is. He's getting the real deal story of the danger that they're in. And Picard's an old man. He knows Picard's an old man. He knows Picard's awesome, but I'm sure he loves the man. It's his big hero. He doesn't. He probably wants to go along. Say, let us go with you, and he's like, nope, you're not allowed.
I wonder how long it takes Picard to kind of spill the entire beans, to Riker and Troy, because I'm guessing he's not going to just sort of go, hello, Will, I'm here. Oh, by the way, this is Soji Data's daughter, and and just fill him in on all the information right from the get go.
Yeah, it'd probably be a good amount of information, but the real worries probably won't come up until they have this intimate setting here. I'm guessing, like I said, Riker and Troy are gonna be like, we need to help you out. We need to be part of this with you. We're going, and he's like, nope, no, you're not.
Yeah. Because yes, I suppose the question is, do Riker and Troy have a ship docked? Do they have a ship on this planet? Do they have? Is there like? There must be a car park out the back or something where they've got like a runabout or something parked.
There's got to be something. I mean, it could be this whole thing. Oh, the Titan will be. I could call the Titan here at any time. Something like that. Because also one reason I think they're gonna try to go with him is because of that line earlier in the season when Chabon said, "Oh, why not get Riker, Geordi, Worf to help you?" And he's like, "No, I won't, because they'll gladly do it,
Zhaban.
and it's going to be dangerous." So they wouldn't even say that.
That's right.
Unless they were going to bring it back.
I thought you were talking about Michael Chabon, the show.
Oh no, yeah, no. It's Chabon. I think it's like Jabon or something like that. I think
it's a soft J. Jabon, I think is the way Picard was.
Yeah, I've heard it pronounced a couple different ways on the show, so I'm always going back and forth. Like I was saying Jabon, and then I heard someone say on the show say it with a little bit more of a j sound. Yeah. Not that it matters. I hope we see them again. I don't know if we will, but it'd be nice if we see them again.
Yeah, I think. There was certainly a nice dynamic and a nice rapport between all of them. But I think the last mention we got of them was when Zhaban had sent the hospitality, the hospitality hologram said to Picard, Mr. Zhaban has sent me all the schematics to recreate your office or whatever, on board the ship. Was the kind of last mention we got of that. Okay, so we're off Nepenthe now, and we're onto the La Serena with Rios, cigar in mouth, busy at the controls of the ship, where this is, obviously once Picard and Soji have departed the Borg cube, I'm guessing the La Serena starts to come under fire, or
yeah, they're completely in the next episode. They're instantly captured. They're put in a tractor beam by the Romulan controlled Borg cube, and their whole adventure that we know of so far is that their whole deal is trying to figure out how to escape while being in the tractor beam. And they're all freaking out, and Rios is like, I blame you to Raffi, and Raffi's like, me.
Yeah. And that's right. And Girardi was saying something to the effect, "Well, just tell them that Soji's not here. Like, they're not on the ship. Like, leave us alone. Yeah. If you go and they've gone somewhere else. Go and chase them."
And that's the moment where she goes too far and kind of exposes her hand, in that she's not like super adamant about caring about sense anymore. So that's why Rios and Raffi kind of give her a look like, I didn't expect that from her. Because she has this new information now that we don't know about. She's on the Romulan side now. She's on the Tal Shiar's side. Whatever information they gave her in that mind meld with Commodore O all those episodes ago, she's working with all new information that the rest of us don't have. But I'm assuming that once that information that she has gets told to Picard and the rest of the crew, that we're probably going to team up with the Tal Shiar at some point.
Yeah, because there was
to go up against the real.
Because there was one shot in the trailer for this week's episode, which briefly showed a planet with a gigantic mushroom cloud erupting from the surface, like a huge kind of nuclear explosion or whatever. If I had to guess, I would say, is this one of the images that Commodore O has shown Girardi to kind of, convince her?
Kind of like it's the same idea that was not done successfully in my view, of all the images that the Red Angel gave to bearded Spock of the destruction of the universe.
Yes.
This is that same type of thing playing out. I think that this Picard series takes place in a different universe, a different timeline than Discovery. But Discovery and this Picard timeline will be connected by the multiverse villain, which I think is the AI Control.
Okay.
But it's not the same timeline, but the villain connects the two timelines because it's the same villain in whatever timeline the villain exists in.
Yes.
It gets very complicated. Because I think the AI Control, knowing that there's a multiverse, why would it care about just killing all the life in one single universe as opposed to killing all life in all universes?
Right. Okay. This is a theme that's been addressed on multiple shows. Like
it's Crisis on Infinite Star Trek.
I was just about to say that this is very Flash. This is very Flash crossover kind of territory.
I agree. I'm okay with that as long as it's done well. But I totally agree.
Yeah.
Seems that way. We don't know, but it seems that way.
Okay, so next we've got a shot of. They look a little bit more relaxed in this shot. We've got Rios with his hands on his hips, gazing out towards something. We've got Raffi in her dressing gown. She hasn't even bothered to get dressed. She's obviously still, got half a bottle of whiskey down her from her encounters with her son the week before, who didn't want a bar of her. So she clearly hasn't gotten out of bed or dressed to come to work.
Which probably smells. She hasn't taken a shower in 3 days.
Yep.
She's too busy drinking. Yep. She's sweating alcohol.
Yes.
At this point, I'm guessing that this scene. I'm guessing this scene takes place before they get caught in the Borg tractor beam, because I'm sure the first thing that happens is the Romulans on the Borg ship are like, "Hey, where's Picard? Where's the girl?" And they're like, "What are you talking about?" Blah 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 blah. And then we don't know this and that. And then they're trying to talk their way out of it. And then the Romulans aren't hearing it, and they activate the Borg tractor beam and get them caught. And then they're trying to escape.
Yeah, exactly. And Girardi looks. She's a little bit in more distant background here, but she doesn't look overly perturbed either. Although she looks a little bit worried in this shot. She's got a bit of an expression of. I think the thing about Girardi is that she kind of has this sort of childlike sensibility, but at the same time you can tell there's some sort of seriously kind of messed up and somewhat even potentially evil kind of stuff going on in the background for her, because she's come across right from the beginning, even though she's obviously very, come across as this very knowledgeable, very well-regarded, well-trained cyberneticist.
Well, space travel is new to her. This is the space travel side of things. The being put in danger side of things are all new to her. Though now we know she is a murderer. Yes. She didn't know she was a murderer, but she knows she's a murderer. Yeah. No one else knows that, but I think that she's going to be found out soon. This definitely seems like, Raffi and Rios, the professionals who she would refer to in this situation, are trying to talk their way out of getting into a conflict with the Romulans. And so she's kind of just caught in the middle, letting them do their thing. Probably wants to interject.
Yes.
But what I really like her. I wasn't sure at first. I was thinking they were trying to do probably a a Tilly type of character with her.
Yeah, yeah.
But it seems like, but I'm so glad because she does have some kind of like those quirky laboratory nerd type qualities, but also she's obviously brilliant, obviously knows what she's talking about in her area. She's not overly awkward. She's like the more realistic version of what Tilly was supposed to be before they ruined her and turned her awkwardness up to 11 in the second season.
But yeah, I mean, certainly most of the laughs and stuff that I've had so far this season have come. She's sort of been a bit of the comic relief character almost, you know.
And we have more comic relief characters in this series than I ever thought we would.
Yeah, I mean, she's come out with some very funny lines of dialogue and that kind of innocent.
And Elnor too.
Yeah, the innocence. The innocence and the way of absolute candor that comes out of Elnor's mouth, where he clearly just says whatever he's thinking, even if that means he's going to sound like a kind of a bit of a country bumpkin or something, you know. And
that's the way that's the way he was raised, is just to say everything that you're thinking. Like that moment in the last episode where, you know, Rios and it's like the next day after Rios and Agnes bumped uglies.
Yes.
And they were kind of like being awkward with each other, and he just straight up says the awkwardness between you is making me uncomfortable.
Yes. Yeah, he's obviously picking up. And did you notice when Picard was talking to Girardi about Maddox, and Elnor picked up on something from Girardi, in terms of her emotions or whatever, whether there's obviously some empathy going on there with the whole, you know, because Romulans are slightly empathic, as are, you know, Vulcans, aren't they? There's no limitation of, you know, can Romulans do mind melds and all that sort of stuff as well as Vulcans can, or have we? I'm not sure. Have we seen Romulans mind meld or just Vulcans?
A long time ago, they rejected Sirac's teachings. So they at one point I think had the capabilities, but they rejected it. So they don't. But I'm sure there's certain portions of the population that I'm sure have the capability to mind meld if they wanted to. But also, I don't even think it goes as far as like having, you know, that type of sensibility. Just the fact that he was raised the way he was raised, and he's just able to see things that, you know, the other two might not have known because they're too busy talking to each other, and he's just there watching.
Yep.
And, you know, his candid approach to everything, you know, just makes him, if he has a little bit of a feeling about something,
he could have just picked up on some body language, some micro expressions on her face, you know, any of that sort of stuff. You know,
there's definitely the empathy for Synths that Girardi had when we first met her. It's gone because she knows now. She doesn't have empathy for the Synths anymore, but she's pretending to go along. And I'm pretty sure she's going to get exposed in the next episode.
Yeah, obviously there's. I mean, you reckon episode 8 she's going to get found out? Do you?
Well, I think she's everyone's going to start getting an inkling that something has changed with her, and then eventually someone's going to call her out on it. And I bet you, if Elnor survives next episode, it seems to me he would be the one that would say, you know, something's wrong with you. What is it?
And it looks like we've got obviously Elnor and Hugh on the run on the Borg cube, being chased by probably all number of Romulan guards, Narissa
Narissa. She gets them. She gets them, and she wants to know where Picard is, where Soji is. They don't know about the trajector. They probably don't even know about the Queen's lair, and they have to get that information out of Hugh and Elnor. My question is, okay, because we're split up now. We got Picard in one place, most of the crew in the other place, and then Elnor is actually on the cube. So is the crew going to get away and leave Elnor behind, or will Elnor make his way back to the La Sirena, and then they all go off together to pick up a Picard? Or do they get away and they're like, oh, the kid, we got to go back for the kid?
Unless...
something's got to be done about the kids.
Unless they go back to the spatial trajector and Elnor arrives back on Nepenthe where Picard ended up, or something, perhaps. Or
Yeah, maybe that's who shows up in that previous picture where the two of them are looking off into the distance.
Yes, that's quite possible. Providing, obviously, they do it in a way where, because I suppose the last thing they need is if Riker and Troy and Picard are sitting on their lovely outdoor setting, enjoying a glass of wine and some cheese, and then suddenly, all of a sudden, some gateway opens up, and then like a buttload of Romulan guards with disruptors start pouring through, disrupting their picnic.
You know what would be a fun way to do that? A fun way to do that, because Elnor is pretty funny, is all of a sudden he shows up and he's like, run! And he's running, and then the Romulans are right after him. And then Riker and Deanna have to get them all out of there as quickly as possible.
Although what's probably more likely, because let's face it, Elnor's not going to run from anybody, is if he comes through the trajector and then he just stands there with his sword, and then they all start coming through the trajector, and he just ends up with one like big Romulan shkabob thing going on, or whatever, as they all come through the
hopefully
gateway.
they do it in a tastefully shot way. I don't mind the violence, because this is a new format for Star Trek, but it is nicer when they do something a little bit more cinematically clever, like in the episode 4 when Elnor, episode directed by Jonathan Frakes, when Elnor cuts that Romulan's head off. It was tastefully done. You don't even see anything at all. Your brain gets tricked into thinking you saw it. But then, of course, the next episode, Ichep's eye gets pulled out, which I think, of course, was to endear Seven's cause, us to instantly be on her side with the pain and all that stuff, because, her loss was our loss in a certain way. So it was effective that way. But then, of course, in the last episode, Elnor, really cut up some Romulans pretty hard. I don't mind it, but it is nicer when they come up with more clever ways to show that.
Yeah, look, as I said, I don't have a problem with it either. I did have a bit of a problem with the eyeball scene being plucked out, in every gory thing. I think that kind of crossed the line a little bit in terms of the graphic nature of kind of Star Trek. I could kind of let the decapitations and stuff with Elnor pass, but I do think that they should have maybe implied that the eye was going to get pulled out of what's his name? Icheb's head. And then maybe the camera had a pan off, and then we had seen the silhouette on the wall of his eye coming out or something. But to actually kind of show it in every kind of graphic detail, I kind of thought that was kind of overdoing it a bit.
Oh, yeah, I could totally agree with that. I mean, I rewatched it a few times because I review these things. I have to. And then I realized, that eyeball ain't even real. It was all Borg technology hanging off the back of it.
Was it?
I was like, oh, okay. Because
was there Borg hanging off the back of his eye?
Hardcore Borg stuff, and then that wire, the wire that was cut off, that was full on just regular Borg android wire stuff. And the back of the eyeball was all Borg looking metal type stuff. And so I'm like, oh, it's just a Borg implant eyeball anyway. But it was graphic either way. But I was like, but then I understood it cinematically. It was the quickest way, most efficient way to get the audience to side with, to understand Seven's pain, and be conflicted when she seeks her own type of justice at the end of the episode, which also I was okay with, because Bjayzl was really, really bad and needed that type of thing.
Now,
I was okay with what she did. I was just not okay with her corrupted motivations. Her motivations were corrupt, though I agree with her actions.
Was it just me, or did you think Bjayzl looked remarkably similar to a young Marina Sirtis?
Absolutely, 110%. I actually had to pause it a few times, because I'm like, is this a flashback?
When I did my review,
it starts off with her, and I thought it was a flashback.
I put a still side by side of like a shot of Deanna Troi from like season 1 or 2 next to Bjayzl, and it's like they could be, twin sisters almost, Yeah,
absolutely. I'm like, if they needed to cast a young Deanna Troi, this is the exact person you have to get. It's identical, no effects needed, precisely, whatsoever.
Maybe
when we first saw her, I was thinking
maybe on her lip. Apart from that, ready to go.
Which that's easily done. But yeah, she had the same hair as season one Deanna Troy. Every angle, because I became obsessed as soon as I saw. I'm like, oh my god, it looks like
Yeah,
Deanna Troy.
totally.
So I was every angle that they had of her, I was just staring at her. Obviously, her heritage is of a different race than Marina Sirtis, but
I thought they were,
you put those
'cause I think Marina
eyeballs,
Sirtis is
those
Greek,
contact.
and I think the other actress maybe is Middle Eastern or
Greek.
something, perhaps. I'm not sure.
Yeah, she's probably, I can't remember. It's she's probably Iranian or
Yeah,
something
yeah.
like that, or somewhere in that region. I don't remember exactly.
And,
I think they're all
yeah,
British
yeah,
though.
yes.
Well, she might not be British, actually. Can't remember if the actress that plays Bajazzel is British or not.
And we've got a shot of Riker and Troy giving a nice big hug to Jean-Luc. This again, based on the costumes they're wearing in this, I thought this might have been a goodbye hug initially, hence putting it last in the grouping of photos here. But maybe based on the fact that Troy's wearing that kind of greeny blue top, and Picard's wearing his vest, this is kind of a hello moment rather than a goodbye moment.
Yeah, I think so because just because they cut the trailer to be like, Dad, Picard is here, and then Riker turns around from the sink, and then they cut to hello, Will. Doesn't mean I'm sure the instant he heard Captain Picard's here, he ran out the door to see what was going on.
Although in that shot, though, it seemed like that Picard was standing in the doorway of his kitchen. So it seems odd that.
But I just think that was just clever editing,
right? As opposed to because there have been a few little moments like that where the editing of the trailer has ended up being totally different to how it's been, edited, and certain lines of dialogue have been moved from different scenes to, elicit different responses in the trailer. Oh, good tea, nice house. Thank you so much, mate, for the super chat. We'll give you a super chat. Hooray! I'm truly hoping we get to hear the Riker and Picard reminisce about old times and make reference to a past TNG episode or plot. Oh, look, I'm sure they're gonna talk about something, aren't they?
They'll do something. Something will be mentioned.
Absolutely.
I don't know if it'll be an exact episode reference, but I mean, there'll be plenty of times. It's like that time, there was a time where you gave me advice about blah, 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 and we'll know what episode he's talking about. Let me give you some advice now.
Yes.
To pay you back or something. It'll be something like that if they do it at all. But I'm sure there'll be some sort of reference, whether how upfront it is or sneaky it is or cleverly put into the dialogue. That's the fun part. Is maybe there's a reference to an episode that we don't even pick up on until we go back in and go comb through every single syllable and every word.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, and they have been very good at that in the show. I think the writers, you do get the impression the writers have done their research. They do know, they do know the
Hardcore,
show, and they've been dropping enough little morsels of fan service along the way in
really deep cuts that even hardcore fans aren't even picking up on a lot of times.
Yeah, I mean, like in that last episode, the Adventures of Flotta Lunchbox, that Soji had all of her photographs in. You had to pause it, you had to zoom right in on the shot to kind of say, oh, okay, this is. When I watched it the first time, it happened too quickly to notice it. So in the sense of doing my review and, going back and watching the episode a second time over and everything, I had to pause it and zoom right in to kind of pick up on that. But yeah, there's little moments like that.
Yeah, and that's from the Voyager episode, the Flotter.
Yes.
Naomi Wildman,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, correct. That's right. That was the holodeck program that Neelix used to play with Naomi Wildman, which was quite popular. So yeah, because I saw the lunchbox come out and I saw there was something printed on it, and I thought, what kids lunchbox is going to be what's the branding on kids lunchbox going to be in the Star Trek universe? And yeah, perfect choice. Like I can't think of any other kids because Wesley Crusher never really kind of there was no kind of Wesley Crusher was always kind of 14 going on 40, in terms of his
He was always so busy doing experiments that put the entire ship in danger.
That's right, yeah. So yeah, DJ just asked, what do you think about the lore theory?
Well, I have my lore theory. They might be talking about a different
there
lore
are
theory.
a couple of lore theories. I know you've got a lore theory, JP. I've got a lore theory too. Do you want me to talk about my lore theory first, or do you want to talk about your lore theory first?
Yeah, you talk about yours.
Okay, so this is my lore theory. Okay. The scene where Jurati switched off Maddox's life support. Just as she switches off his life support and terminates his life, Jurati kind of does this twitch with her face. And it's exactly
like Lore
it's
used
exactly
to do.
the same twitch that Lore was doing in that first, was it Data Lore episode in season 1, I think it was, where he had a kind of a tick where he'd kind of do this kind of little twitch thing. Jurati does exactly the same thing just at the moment that she switches off Maddox's life support. So obviously there've been some rumors circulating around that, is Jurati another one of these, biological, near perfect flesh and blood androids, the same as Daj and Soji? And if that's the case, because Maddox does make some reference where he says to Jurati, your contribution was essential. I couldn't have done it without you. Is he talking to Jurati, or is he talking to Lore?
Or is he just talking to synth Jurati, who doesn't know she's a synth, and her contribution is the fact that she's the prototype. What? But also the show will make references to things that aren't really
little misdirects or something.
Alluding to that. They're just trying to do a reference some way, somehow. Yeah. But I do think that could be a lore reference. My lore theory is that we know that Daj is Data's daughter, right? We've been led to believe that Daj and Soji are Data's daughters. We know that there was only a tiny bit of Data's essence for Bruce Maddox to work with, but we also know, and we know that B4 was just a cheap knockoff copy of Data. But we know that Data has a real brother, Lore, who was dismantled at the end of Descent Part 2.
And that was the last thing we saw of
Lore. Or deactivated.
Yeah,
he was deactivated. I went back and he says, "I love you, brother."
And then I think at the end when Data's talking to Geordi, Data says that he's been deactivated and dismantled. And that was the last we ever saw of Lore. No other reference was made of him again. So you have to assume, well, okay, was Lore...
But Maddox would know. Maddox would know that Lore existed. I mean, lots of people know. He's going to be in the reports and all that stuff. So Maddox, not being able to get enough Data essence, would totally be looking for a shortcut. The whole reason we met Maddox in season 2 of TNG is he was looking for a shortcut with his work by commandeering Data, right? So he's just looking for a shortcut. He needs more. B4 was not the shortcut he needed. Lore is out there somewhere, so I'm sure he would have went out there to try to find Lore so that he can speed up his work. But also with Daj and Soji, here's the difference between the two of them. When Daj got activated, and she came across that interview of Picard that he did in the first episode. As soon as she saw him, something instantly activated inside of her. She's like, I need to find him. This is the man. I don't know why. I will be safe with him. He is the one that will protect me and keep me safe. She instantly had to find him, and she was attached to him. There was something inside of her. When Soji got activated and she full on ran into Picard, she was like, do I know you? I don't know if I can trust you. She had no she had no inkling that this man was basically her protector and trying to look out for her. Dodge had that instantly the moment she saw him, and we all assumed that that was the Data's essence inside of her reacting and pushing her towards him. Soji didn't have that at all. Is Soji, whereas Dodge is made out of Data's essence, is Soji made out of Lore's essence, because Lore has to come up at some point. And then because here's the thing, Dr. Soon made two brothers, Data and Lore. Data was the good guy, Lore was the bad guy. When Soji came across Ramda, the XB, the ex-Borg, that was a Romulan, they all went crazy. They know some sort of information that made them go crazy and not the other Borg. That's why the cube was cut off in the first place, because whatever information Ramda and her team had couldn't be allowed to affect the rest of the Borg, is my theory. So the Borg instantly cut them off and jammed out. When Ramda comes across Soji, she says, "I recognize you."
Oh, and she always...
Are you the sister
Yes.
who... Are you the sister who died, or are you the sister who survived? And
She says, which one are you? Which one are you? She freaks out. Yeah.
Yeah, because she freaks out because if you're the one who survived, which she is the one who survived, that means you're the destroyer of worlds, and that's a bad thing, right? So I'm guessing
Interesting theory.
that Lore is Soji is Lore's daughter, Daj is Data's daughter, and it's a parallel. It's a parallel. Two brothers that are survived by two sisters.
Very interesting theory. That's a good one.
It goes beyond a twit, doesn't it?
It is, yes. So yeah, I mean, yes, there's a lot of stuff that's got to play out in the next 3 episodes.
I'm also thinking
or so.
these writers are very poetic with this show. They like diving deep into these types of weird connections and philosophy and stuff like that. So that seems like something to me that these particular writers would come up with, because they are a little bit more mature than the Discovery writers are. And I think it kind of feels like there's a little bit on this writing team that kind of wants to show up the Discovery team, wants to school them a little bit.
I wonder whether, if that was the case, there might have been some kind of hint, because I remember how Lore and Hugh were working together, as part of the Borg group in Descent.
Yeah. So maybe Hugh has a little bit of information about Lore.
I'm trying to think whether we have seen any kind of any hint there, because obviously if Hugh knew Lore very well from the time that they worked together in Descent Part 1 and 2.
And Bruce Maddox knew Data very well. They became friends.
So I'm trying to think whether there was any kind of, because was there anything that Hugh has said to? So I can't think of anything that Hugh might have said to Soji, because if there's a connection between Hugh and Lore, and obviously if your theory holds true, maybe they would have dropped a little hint there, perhaps with that whole. I
haven't seen
Soji
any.
connection.
I'd have to go back, because I came up with this theory well after. I just came up with this theory while reviewing the last episode. All of a sudden, things just started making sense. But I haven't gone back to watch any previous episodes since I've made these connections.
Yeah. No, it'll be very interesting to see how it plays out. But it's because obviously there have been a lot of theories circulating around to do with Soji being Borg Queen and all this sort of stuff. But
yeah, I still kind of like that idea. I mean, it could still be part of the story. I could totally see, because Lore, Data and the Queen were they had a huge connection. The Queen, the Borg were the first ones to give Data actual biological skin.
That's true. Yes, you're right. Yeah, that's right. And because they gave it to him, and then he was trying to rip it off, and he couldn't do it, and that whole last sort of last act of First Contact.
But the review of the Impossible Box that I just put up an hour or so ago, I end it with the question: do you think Soji will end up being a Skywalker or a Palpatine? Because it's the same type of idea to me.
Yeah, there have definitely been in science fiction over the last couple of years. There's definitely been this
surgence of these kind of strong female kind of Mary Sue type heroes in the form of whether it's the whole Daj and Soji thing or the Rey from Star Wars, this kind of.
Well, I always consider most heroes of most stories to be Mary Sue's. Most heroes are doing things they shouldn't be able to do perfectly the first time around. Not always the case, but a lot of times.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
Marty McFly is a little bit of a Mary Sue.
I'm sure there's a lot of heroes in modern media or whatever that fall into that category.
Yeah, that's why we love them so much, because they could do things instantly that the rest of us can't do, and they didn't necessarily earn it.
Yes. Yeah,
but Soji and Daj, I mean, they totally earned it because they're programmed with that information.
Yes, absolutely, exactly. So it'll be very interesting to see, because there's not that many episodes left in the season now, so we're obviously going to have to start to get some fairly major reveals. Hopefully, we don't lose any of our main characters anymore, because I think I don't get the impression that like, for example, with Discovery, we kind of knew that Anson Mount was only going to be in Discovery for season 2, and he wasn't going to be in it beyond that. But I kind of get the impression that our main cast members will be returning for the second season. I didn't kind of get any kind of indication.
I think we'll lose somebody at some point. But it does feel very early, because it still feels like everyone just got signed up.
Yeah, like
to be part of this mission. So it seems very, very early. But I think we will lose probably Elnor at some point. Yeah, they alluded to it right at the beginning when that Vulcan mother says, "Oh, he will die, but let him live first."
Oh yeah.
So I'm like, and also it's just the nature of his character to run into battle no matter the odds, to protect or whatever. So at some point, maybe season 2, season 3, because I think there'll be absolutely 3 seasons. Hopefully no more, because this story, before they even started, was meant to be 3 seasons. So I hope they don't try to stretch it out. I hope they stick to their plan, because if they're sticking to a plan for 3 seasons, they already have it planned out what the whole thing is, what the story is. It's going to be a better story if they're not trying to stretch it out beyond its shelf life that they planned.
Oh, look, and if the writers are structured that a 3 season, or that's your typical 3-act structure, for any kind of film or show sort of thing. So that would definitely make sense. Although that being said, though, if we're going to lose anybody, normally that kind of happens at the end of sort of Act 2 or something, doesn't it? Like,
but I consider, like you just said, that each season is a different act. Now, of course, we have 3 acts within every season. Like, for instance, the first 3 episodes was planned to be the pilot episode. It's the first act. So the pilot isn't the pilot. The first 3 episodes is the pilot, and then you get and then part 2 or episode 4 is when you start the adventure, which is Act 2. And I think these next 3 episodes is the 3rd act, because we got to this point, which always happens in the second act, where our team gets split up. They're down and outs, and they're going to try to figure out in the 3rd act how to get back together and win this thing. So it seems to be playing out in the typical 3-act style.
Yeah, which has certainly been playing out. I think they've paced it well. I think the only time I ever felt so far that the pacing wasn't right is those scenes we got on board the Borg cube with Narissa and Narek, kind of where she'd kind of say, well, you need to get information out of Soji. You're taking too long. I'm going to have to take over. And she'd come in and then whisper in his ear, and there'd be that kind of weird, sort of slightly incestual brother-sister stuff going on.
Yeah, I was taken out a little bit by that, because I just started staring at Narissa and forgetting what the story was. I have to go back and watch Narissa and Commodore O, which I think was in episode 2, their conversation, because I kind of feel that whatever Narissa is doing, that it's beyond what Commodore O thinks she's doing.
Okay.
Where I think Commodore O might end up being a good guy, I
like
think Narissa
she
is
was
going to
duped
be a
by
bad guy.
Narissa sort of thing or whatever, or told hasn't
Narissa's
been told
using,
the whole story.
yeah. Yeah, Narissa's got her own agenda that's going beyond what Commodore O thinks she's doing. Commodore O thinks that their plans are being sneaky, but Narissa's like, no, I got sneakier plans than what you think.
Well, that's what they said because
Yeah, I think Narissa will end up being a villain. Where I don't know if anyone else is actually a villain right now. I think it's very possible that Commodore O, the whoever is infiltrated the Federation, Narek, any bad people we've seen so far, except for Narissa, might end up being good guys that are going to be going up against the big evil, which hasn't even been introduced yet. That's whatever the information that they're keeping from us that we don't know about yet, that the Tal Shiar know about, that the infiltrators in the Federation know about, that Agnes Jurati knows about. I don't think we've been introduced to any real villains.
The other thing
yet.
is we've sort of had a bit of a turnaround on is we in the first sort of 3 episodes they kept referencing the Zhat Vash, and since they're kind of left in the ship and gone away, we haven't kind of had any further mentionings of the Zhat Vash again. It's sort of when they've talked about
once. I think there was once recently.
They've referred to them as the Tal Shiar, but they haven't kind of gone back to this whole Zhat Vash angle. So whether
I heard Picard say it once in the last episode or two, but it was just kind of conversational.
Because I think that when they're
because then I was like, because I remember going, oh yeah, Zhat Vash. I forgot about that part. But even the Zhat Vash, according to the Tal Shiar, are still kind of a rumor of something that might exist. It's not like it's like a an old wives' tale type of thing. But of course, they're going to be existing. But the knowledge that they have obtained, because apparently the Zhat Vash have some sort of knowledge that synths are bad, that they got 2,000 years ago, and any information that a society gets 2,000 years ago is going to be changed and just become part of the culture, not necessarily the facts behind it. It just becomes something that you notice the Romulans don't have a lot of synths or things like that. It's they probably have no idea why they distrust synthetics. They just do because it's part of their culture for this long. But there's still that real knowledge there somewhere that the Zhat Vash is holding on to.
Exactly, yeah. And look, I suppose because they've referenced the Tal Shiar a few times. I mean, whether, for example, Commodore O thinks she's dealing with Tal Shiar, but she's actually dealing with Zhat Vash, and there's like a Russian doll, like a puzzle within a puzzle, or an agenda within another agenda, sort of thing. And what she's being told is one thing, but the actual agenda is something even deeper goes even deeper.
Yeah, absolutely. There's somebody. Most people are probably working with all these different information, and eventually we're all going to get caught up. But yeah, so far I think we're being led to believe that Commodore OO and the Tal Shiar are bad guys, but I don't think they are, which would be very interesting. And then maybe they have different ways of doing things than the Federation would be doing things with the same information. But not that much different. But eventually we're going to be introduced to who the big villain is, which I'm sure is going to be some galaxy wiping out type of situation where the needs of the many begin to outweigh the needs of the few. So, Maddox being murdered or this person being killed or whatever. It's like, it doesn't matter because everyone's going to die if we don't.
It does seem to be a common recurring theme in sort of current day media, where unless the threat is on a scale of multiple planetary destructions, it's like, I think producers,
a franchise movie won't get made.
It sort of seems like it needs to be the biggest, unless we are wiping out at least the Earth, the galaxy, the universe. Whether producers of these shows feel like, the jeopardy isn't big enough, or we need to have a bigger threat. Like, how big a threat do you need when whether it's an Avengers movie, whether it's kind of the Flash multiverse kind of Crisis on Infinite Earths
gets bigger and bigger and
it gets
bigger.
bigger and bigger and bigger. And it's like, unless
But it already started off big a long time ago.
And unless we're wiping out
with Star Wars, it's like, with Star Wars, it's like, we can destroy a planet. It's like, well, now we can destroy five planets. It's like, now we can destroy the entire galaxy. Every single Star Destroyer is the Death Star. It just keeps going and going and going and becoming more and more outlandish. But in this story, because of the things that have happened, like killing Bruce Maddox, they have to prove to us, which they could do if I don't know how yet, but I'm interested to find out. They have to prove to us that what Agnes did was justified. She thinks it was justified, even though it was horrible for her to do that. She isn't happy with what she did, but she feels there's some sort of justification. So we need to be, once we're told what her reasoning was, it's up to the writers to prove to us that what she did was the right decision. I mean, it could be something like, if the main goal of whatever this knowledge is, if it's to destroy this thing that resets the timeline so that everyone we killed won't be dead anyway, then it's like, okay, you can kill whoever you want, because when you kill off the big bad guy, everything gets reset, and everyone that you died never got killed because we changed the timeline.
Because I don't see them. I think the audience has bonded with Jurati, so I can't see them changing the audience's opinion. Obviously, she's switched off Maddox's life support and all that sort of stuff.
She's conflicted.
Yeah, she's conflicted.
But I don't think she's a bad guy at all.
I don't see the writing of her character being completely flipped on its head, and suddenly she's going to become a baddie in the same context as, say, someone like Narissa, is deemed a bad guy. So yeah, I think you're right. I think particularly, I think.
Also, I don't want it to be that she killed someone with this knowledge that she has, and it turns out the knowledge was a trick, and she killed somebody that she didn't have to kill. I don't want them doing that to her either.
That would be mean, wouldn't it? I think
It has to be, it has to be whatever this knowledge is true, and she was justified. I don't know what that is yet, but I'm very interested.
But whatever the knowledge is, though, when you think about it, it has to be of a fairly extreme level, because obviously she had a relationship with this guy. They were not only business colleagues, but they were also romantically involved as well.
Maybe she has future knowledge, because I feel there's some sort of future knowledge going on here, because Rhonda, she says, I remember you from the tomorrow.
Do you think this is going to connect in with Discovery in the sense that we've seen these clips from Discovery season 3 where the Federation sort of almost doesn't exist anymore, or there's only a couple of planets?
I don't think it will.
That's nothing to do. You don't reckon it's going to connect in with that?
I don't think so. I think the only connection will be the multiverse villain. Whatever universe this villain's coming from is, attack Discovery's timeline. It's attacking Picard's timeline. I don't think the Federation will fall, because then this entire series is pointless. The Federation is going to fall. I think what happened is the moment that, first off, I think Discovery came from a different universe. I think also, as we know, all CBS Trek is based upon the theories from 2009 Star Trek, which is definitely pro multiverse. Spock got pulled out of whatever universe he was in to go back in time. That's created the Kelvin timeline. So we know if you go back in time and change anything, you start a new timeline. The Red Angel went back and specifically changed things over 900 times, creating over 900 different timelines with different things going on, different possibilities. Michael Burnham went through time a bunch of times to do all this stuff. Every time she did that, she's creating a different timeline. The moment Discovery or anybody else, in my opinion, let's get a little quantum physics going in. The moment you leave your timeline and jump to the future, 1,000 years of future, wherever you end up going, it will be a different timeline by the time you get there, because by the mere fact of you leaving the timeline you were in, it's impossible to jump into your same timeline, because you changed the timeline that you were in.
I look that
just
there
by
are
leaving it,
and many possibilities, and if you think about it too much, it can make it explode. So
yeah, absolutely. The Orville Captain Mercer said it all the time. It's like, don't even get me into a conversation about quantum physics and time travel because nobody understands
That's right,
it.
exactly.
There's a different rules, different theories for
Yeah.
everything. But yeah, I think the Discovery jumped into a different timeline the moment they left, or it's one of those alternate timelines that the Red Angel created, where yes, in that timeline, at some point, it could be just 100 years prior to when they arrive, the Federation fell, and it'll be up to them to bring hope to that part of the timeline and rebuild the Federation, which is a pretty noble, great type of storyline for a Star Trek series.
Yeah.
Didn't know that Discovery knew what hope was, but maybe by comparison, when things are pretty hopeless in this place they're going, they'll have a better handle on hope than the people that greet them when they arrive. So that sounds like a great Star Trek storyline, but I think it's a what if universe. Discovery is going into a what if universe.
True. Hey,
which is what it should always have done.
Yes.
This season, the storyline of this season should have been their first season.
Yeah, I think I'm really hoping that they have learnt from their mistakes of the first 2 seasons on Discovery, and they sort of get a little bit more on track.
I think they've set themselves up for the possibility of being successful this season, but whether or not the writers have what it takes to pull it off, that we just don't know until they start airing. Yeah. I can't give them any of the benefit of the doubt at this point. They've lost.
Is there an air date for Discovery Season 3 slated as yet?
No, not yet, but I'm guessing we're going to be getting that date very soon with Picard only having 3 episodes left. They need to, at least on the American side of things, they need to keep people, keep that carrot dangled in order to get people to keep their subscription. So also, I originally predicted many months ago that Discovery would probably air 2 weeks after whenever the Orville decides to start airing. But now I'm thinking, because things have changed for CBS now that the Picard show is pretty successful, it's getting them the business they were looking for that they thought they were going to be getting with Discovery and didn't. So now their game plan has probably changed. They're like, let's just keep this ball going. So I'm guessing Discovery will be coming out a lot sooner than I originally thought.
And I wonder if Netflix is regretting their decision, because obviously they weren't very happy with the numbers that Discovery was doing, but obviously Picard has been doing...
Yeah, or the reception.
Yeah, but obviously Picard has been doing, I gather, pretty well for Amazon internationally, because obviously it's on CBS All Access in the States, but everywhere else in the world is on Amazon. So I think...
yeah, but you can always make the argument that this Picard series wouldn't even be as good if Netflix didn't turn down CBS, making it so that CBS had to reevaluate things. Say, okay, we need to do a good job with this show. Yeah. If Netflix just bought it right away, they probably wouldn't even have put in as much effort as they have.
Yeah, that's an interesting theory. Actually, speaking of shows, one thing I haven't sort of talked about too much, which is probably something that's worth mentioning, the Picard theme by Jeff Russo. Obviously, Jeff Russo did the theme for Discovery as well as Picard. What are your thoughts on the? Because obviously the musical score and the theme for all these shows kind of becomes, the Alexander Courage original Star Trek theme, and the Jerry Goldsmith who did the theme for Next Generation.
This theme is based. Yeah, this theme is based on the motion picture, like inspired by. Yeah. I believe it is. I love the theme for this show. The Picard one, okay, the piano, and then they put that gratuitous Star Trek classic at the end of the Discovery one. This one, I could see the similarities of the of the notes from it, but this song is so much different. It's gentle. I love
think it's
the
more
fact
memorable than the Discovery one.
Every time I hear it now, it was a little weird at first, but now every time I hear it, I'm just like chilling out, loving every moment of it.
It's into my head of the Picard theme, whereas
and it's hope.
Yeah, and the Discovery theme, I almost feel like the Discovery theme is so forgettable. You kind of forget what the theme is while you're listening to it. It's sort of it doesn't
for
get
me
in,
it's not forgettable because I've had to listen to it 1,000 times.
it doesn't kind of get in
because
your
of the
ear in the
content.
same way. I definitely think the Picard
Correct.
theme
It doesn't get me in the mood. To go on this adventure. This one, it's so gentle, it's so respectful, it swells with hope, and but it's gentle because Picard is in a gentle state. He's rebuilding himself. He's picking up the pieces, and you can hear that, you can feel that, and you feel like you're going on a hopeful utopian adventure.
And I love the little reference. The little reference at the end when the Next Generation theme kicks in, but it's the same. When the Next Generation theme kicks in at the end of the Picard theme or whatever, to end it, it's the flute. It's the same flute that Picard played in that Inner Light episode from
Inner Light, which also has to show up at some point.
Oh yeah.
The dude's a flautist.
I actually thought it might have showed up in the with the first episode when he goes to his storage locker or whatever at Starfleet Archives, where he had the bat'leth on the wall and he had all the little model ships and everything. I thought, are we going to see his little flute kind of sitting on a little display thing there too, or?
I think it's probably way too personal, way too private, so that he wouldn't put it in. He probably has it locked up somewhere. It's probably in his holographic librry. Or his holographic study as well.
It might be, on the mantle, on the.
Or it might be the only thing in his office or study that isn't a hologram.
I didn't see it like it was. You know how he's got the Soji Daj painting above the mantelpiece or whatever in his office or whatever. I didn't detect. I don't
think you would display.
Yeah, it's not like it would be sitting on a little.
No, I'm sure it's in a drawer or in a special place in a box that he takes it out. I don't think he would share it with anybody.
Yeah, yes, it's just for him.
Except for unless the right lady with a rollout keyboard came along.
That's right. She was an Australian actress who played that role. Yes, actually before my fellow Aussie Elnor came into the series, I think she was one of the only Australian characters or whatever that had been in a Star Trek series before. So it was good from a personal point of view to see. I was actually quite surprised that they went with Elnor doing his just normal, or I should say, Evan Ivagora doing his normal Aussie accent for
his normal. Yeah, I don't think the young version of Elnor had an Aussie accent, though.
But Elnor clearly,
I noticed that right away. I was like, "Whoa!"
Although, mind you, all of the Romulans in Picard do seem to have either a British accent or a accent that is sort of vaguely derivative of the British accent. So I suppose if they're going along those.
Laris has an Irish accent.
That's right.
She's an Irish actress.
Although Zhaban he was kind of almost doing a neutral accent. I thought the actor who played him, he wasn't.
Yeah, he just had a regular American accent. He's a northerner.
Yeah, yes. I'm actually.
She's a southerner. She's a smooth-headed southerner, and he's a north. Because the northern hemisphere Romulans have the forehead. Yes. The southern hemisphere Romulans are smooth-headed.
Yes.
But of course, just like here, there's different accents for different.
I love that. I actually, when I first saw the first trailers of Picard coming out, I actually thought, okay, they've changed the Romulan makeup. They've ditched what they've established in DS9 and Next Generation and so forth with the Romulans, and they've abandoned the forehead prosthetic. And then obviously we started to see clips with people who did have the forehead V. And it's like, okay.
Yeah, basically they're playing homage to all Romulans that we've seen throughout the
I love that.
The history of
I think it's
the
good. I
series.
mean, obviously, we've seen...
it's a little confusing to know which one's a Vulcan or not.
Well, I think...
But it was confusing with the original series too, because Romulans and Vulcans looked exactly the same.
Yeah, I mean, and that was obviously came into things as a bit of a plot point in certain things, like in, for example, Undiscovered Country, where that what's her name? The Kim Cattrall character was supposed to be a Vulcan, and at the end, she turns out to be a Romulan, because in obviously back in the original series, Romulans and Vulcans just looked the same, as opposed to the Michael Westmore Next Generation revamp of Romulans, which incorporated the forehead V sort of thing. So I'm actually glad that they didn't just completely abandon that that element that had been
they just paid homage to all the different ones.
Which I think is a good way of doing it, because you can, as you said, you can easily explain that away with, on Earth we have many different looking people from different cultures and different countries that have different appearances. So why would they be any different on Romulus? I guess so. Yeah,
I do want to say that. Let's see if I can find it here. SC in the chat said that Raffi turned JL's flute into a pipe to smoke smoking. Now, of course, we know that pipe that she does use is a traditional Orion smoking pipe for smoking snake leaf. But yeah, that's what that's what happened to the flute.
Yes. Has snake leaf been referenced in any previous Star Trek incarnation before, or is that a new?
Yeah, I believe it was original series. God, was it with Harry Mudd? Or it might have been in the cage when they're in that when was it Pike that was they had that what's her face was an Orion girl dancing, and he was hanging out in that bazaar type of thing. That might have been referenced, I think, in that episode.
Okay.
Which is the first episode. Well, not even really the first episode. It's the almost the first episode, the prequel.
Yeah. Yes, my knowledge is a little bit more vague when it comes to the original series. My introduction to Star Trek was kind of the feature films onwards sort of thing. So so I kind of
yeah. Well, what I do is I just look what people are complaining about, and then I just go research it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, usually almost every complaint I've seen, I just go on Wikipedia. I'm like, oh, there's the reference right there from like 40 years ago.
It's an Orion drug. Okay, so SCG says it's an Orion drug. So you must have been established in one of those Dancy Green Slave Girl episodes of original series, I'm guessing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it was just a quick little reference. They find quick little things. They've even already on this Picard series once or twice have actually mentioned Gorn, but it's in ways that, there's something in the background that's Gorn related, or some quick reference that's just an offhanded remark.
Speaking of referencing other Star Trek races, I'm incredibly surprised that we didn't see a Ferengi in that bar in Freecloud, considering.
Yeah, because Quark was mentioned.
Quark was not only mentioned; it was the sign at the front of the bar, and then what's his name, Mr. Vup or whatever, says, what did he say? Mr. Quark was happy with the way you dealt with the situation with the Breen or something like that. So.
Well, maybe it was just one of those times where there just didn't happen to be any Ferengi in there. But I would think at some point in these 3 seasons, we will be introduced to the Ferengi. We're definitely going to see some Cardassians. We'll probably see some legit connected to the collective Borg. I'm sure there's lots of stuff that we're going to see, but of course they're just not putting it all out there right away.
I mean, the only kind of tidbit I think we know from the coming next season is the fact that Whoopi Goldberg's agreed to reprise her role as Guinan, which I think was good news.
And I'm pretty sure at some point we're going to run into Captain Worf, who I think is supposed to be the current captain of the Enterprise.
Yes, that's correct, according to the book that's the.
The last.
Yeah, I forget the name of it. It's just got released recently. The backstory book.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get that. Unfortunately, I'm gonna have to read words. Unfortunately, because if it's part of the new CBS Trek canon, because I consider there's canon Star Trek, and then there's CBS canon Star Trek, which is a different thing. But it's cool. Yep. It's fine. It's fine. If I think it's even better if they're like, yeah, this is our own canon for our own Star Trek universe. I'd love it if they start divvying up the rights to the older, canon Star Trek rights, to NBC or Seth MacFarlane. Let them handle that if they're not going to be handling it, and then they just continue on with what they're doing.
Wasn't that a fake news story that came out recently that this whole Seth MacFarlane was trying to take over Star Trek and give it back to NBC or something, and it was turned out to be just a big.
Yeah. I don't know if it's fake, but it's definitely a rumor. It's definitely not officially true. I don't know if it's officially fake, but it's not officially true at all.
Yeah, I thought it was established that there was some sort of leak going on, and they dropped this kind of leak to mess up. Was it a YouTuber called Doomcock or something that was like trying to drop out these sort of fake news stories or something, and it kind of. It was.
I heard some. I know that I heard that he got a thing from Reddit or something, or 4chan maybe, that somebody that supposedly works for CBS put out something. So I knew that he covered it, and someone sent me the link to whatever the information was on. I think it was 4chan. Yeah. So I did a video about my thoughts on the rumor, because I talk about rumors. I just talk about them as rumors. If it's true, this is what I think. If it's not true, this is what I think. But nothing's official. I was talking with who was I talking to? Anyway, I was talking to someone. They said nothing's official until it's official. And so but I'm like, but everything's worth talking about as long as you're just having a conversation. Because my show, I treat it as if I'm hanging out with my buds at the coffee shop and we're talking about whatever nerd stuff we want to talk about. So, yeah, I don't know. Somebody said, something happened with Doomcock. I don't know. I don't keep track of anyone else's channels or even really watch other channels.
Pflugerville says Doomcock got played. So I think someone dropped it.
Possibly.
Yeah, I think there was they intentionally dropped some fake news on him. He reported on, which kind of, I don't know, it's kind of showed him out as.
Did they do it? Did they do it to see if he would fall for it?
I think that was the gist of it. Yeah, they
too.
Intentionally, released some dodgy information to see if he would take the bait, and he did, and that kind of outed him as yes, the old what was it? Ambassador Vreenek from DS9. It's a fake. Remember that one?
Yeah, see, it all depends on how you handle information. Yes. I always handle all information as if it's just something to talk about. If other people are talking about it, why not have a conversation about it? I have had people they'll post one of my videos and say, "Oh, Egotastic Funtime is reporting blah blah blah." I'm like, whoa! I've never reported anything in my life. I've always just give opinions on topics. So I think part of that comes with, in this day and age, with 24-hour news cycle, things like that. People are so used to us to 24/7. A story comes out like in the news, and then it's 48 hours of people giving their opinion on that story. And people have forgotten that the opinions that people are giving in these news reports are opinions. They're not the fact. The fact is what they're talking about. But if they're just going through scenarios, that's not news. That's not a fact. And so people, and it's not people's fault. It's just the society we live in now, where we're just being bombarded with opinions all the time. And we forget that opinions are not facts. So people have a hard time discerning things. I've literally said, say, "Oh, here's what I think about something. If this was true, don't know if it is." And then people said, "Oh yeah, I also agree that that's probably true. I agree with you." And I'm like, I didn't say that.
Because I think to a certain extent now, obviously, some people take the comments of YouTubers to be gospel. But
yeah, I don't know why they do that.
It's sort of almost like, back in the day when you only had kind of news services to rely on for your news, where sources would be checked and triple checked and all that sort of stuff, so that there was an element of
that's gone.
Journalistic integrity.
That's gone.
Now it's just whatever information comes out, we're reporting on it, whether it's true or not. We'll kind of work it out later on whether it is or it isn't.
And then by the time you work it out whether it is or isn't, people have already moved on to another topic.
Exactly.
So they don't even get the update.
Speaking of news and so forth, I was actually talking to, I'm interested to hear your opinion on this. I was talking to one of my subscribers who goes to Caltech, and I believe he's in one of Brian Brophy's classes. Brian Brophy being the actor who originally played Bruce Maddox, in Measure of a Man. And Brian Brophy is, I think he's the head of the Caltech theatre department or something.
He's a director there.
But apparently, according to my subscriber who had been speaking to Brian about Maddox and about the appearance of the character in Picard recently, he said that Brian was not even asked to reprise his role. He wasn't even, the producers didn't even give him a phone call or anything to ask him if he wanted to reprise his role, which I
can believe that.
Which I got the impression he was sort of a little bit sad about, which I was a bit sad about. I honestly, when I first heard that the character would be in the show, I automatically assumed that it would be Brian. I did
didn't
too. Think they would recast. So initially,
after watching it, I know why they recast.
Because he died in one episode, or no?
No. I just looked. I went ahead because I was wondering. So I went ahead and I did the research. I looked at, the first Bruce Maddox that we met, which is very different than the Bruce Maddox story in this episode. The life experiences are complete 180. And I looked at the performance that was given, and then I went back and I looked at not only The Measure of Man, but other performances that Brian Brophy gave in different types of roles. He never played a role like I saw in this episode. So I'm assuming they didn't think, and I'm not even sure that he would. I mean, if he did, great. I would have loved to have seen him because I'm so familiar with who Bruce Maddox is and who played him originally. I don't know if he had the chops to play the role in the way that was required from previous works. And plus, he hasn't really had an acting gig in over 6 or 7 years. But everything I went back and looked, I'm like, oh, he's never played a role like this before. They probably just assume he didn't have the chops. He might have.
He still seems to have his toe dipped in the Star Trek pool, because I think he directed a musical based on Star Trek as part of.
Yeah, he did like a fun Star Trek musical.
Yeah, so it certainly seems like he still, had a connection to Star Trek there. He was still, and I think in the past,
he's got to at least have a connection to the fandom.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if he had a booth at a con, I would go line up to meet him.
There's photos of him, online with other Star Trek fans, in cosplay uniforms and whatnot. So it seems clear that he has done convention appearances. He still maintained a connection to Star Trek through the musical and the productions and the stuff that he's been doing as part of the Caltech theatre department or whatever. So it certainly seems like, and from what my subscribers mentioned to me in terms of his reaction, that if he had have been asked, the impression that I got was that he would have been open to it.
It didn't seem like he had a bad feeling about Star Trek or anything. It seems like he's embraced his role. I think he said it was his favorite role. I just know that what I saw on the screen, personally, from my research into what he's previously done, I don't feel he would have been able to pull that off. But but I don't know for a fact, if he was able to pull that off, I much would have preferred to see him.
Yeah, obviously, It didn't bother me as much that the original actor who didn't play Icheb was playing Icheb. But I think
because it was even hard.
That was even hard. Yeah, I think with him, the fact that he died within the first sort of couple of minutes of the episode, and the fact that he had his bloody eyeball plucked out of his head and he was covered in blood and all that sort of stuff, you probably couldn't have necessarily told that it wasn't the original actor anyway. So I think in that case it wasn't.
Yeah, I didn't mind that, but I do think Manu totally could have played that role.
Yeah,
but I mean, also people are like, "Oh, they killed each of them." I'm like, well, characters in Star Trek die. If you're going to kill off a known character, each of them's a pretty good pick because no one's really going to be torn up too bad. I'm still getting over Tasha Yar being murdered.
And obviously they needed something to give Seven that emotional weight and motivation for going down the road that she has gone down. And I think there's no other character you could kill off apart from each.
Meant more to me. Yeah, I'm like, oh, Ichub's dead. Data died. Why aren't you still talking about
Yeah.
Data? You ain't talking about Ichub being killed.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we're coming.
Just don't kill off Naomi
Yeah,
Waldman.
well, yeah. Actually, I was starting to think whether are we likely to see characters like Naomi Wildman or even what would
That would be a good deep cut because there's a lot of people, some people will be like, oh my God, I can't believe that's Naomi Waldman. A lot of people will be like, who? Like,
yes.
I actually had people, and I forgot about this. It makes sense, though. I had a lot of people saying, who did Picard know on the cube? I'm like, he knew Hugh. I'm like, who's Hugh? Well, they're like, who's Hugh? I'm like, oh, you're not even getting the connection. Okay, I get it. Hugh was, if you think about it, I mean, some of us are really into to TNG. Other people are into DS9.
Yeah.
Other people are in the Voyager original series, Enterprise. Yeah, you can't expect everyone to remember every single character from one or two episodes. So I'm like, oh yeah, Hugh's important to me, kind of. But yeah, I'm like, I have to remember other people don't know who Hugh is. So it'd be kind of cool to have like a Naomi Wildman cameo, and only a few people pick up on even remembering who her character
Or
was.
another character that they could potentially bring in that we sort of haven't seen is didn't Tom Paris and B'Elanna Torres have a baby at the end of Voyager? Didn't they have a girl?
That's right.
So you could.
That's right. She would be full grown, ready to be a cadet or
so she'd be like, if she was born right at the end of Voyager, which was kind of, where was Voyager? Where was the Voyager finale in terms of after? Was it after Nemesis? No, it was before Nemesis, wasn't it? Because
it was before.
Janeway
Right
turned
before.
up as the admiral to give Picard his orders in Nemesis.
She'd be early 20s at this
she'd
point.
be probably early to mid 20s. So you could easily bring her in as a potential new character. Actually, I always
and it would be great if they brought her in and didn't even mention her parents, and then later on they mention it. And you're like, oh my God, this character that I've been loving for 3 or 4 episodes, I didn't even put two and two together.
Yeah. Exactly, and you're right, and I think there's characters like that we haven't even seen that you could easily bring in that would kind of give a bit of fan service, but at the same time be a completely new and original character we kind of hadn't ever seen before, sort of thing. Which should be it's like giving fan service without giving fan service. It's creating something new.
That is connected, but you have to really think about it to even catch the connection.
Yeah, exactly. When does Naomi get her eye drilled out? No, if Naomi Wildman wouldn't get her eye drilled out, she'd get her forehead horns ripped out or something like that. That was the case. Well, we've just ticked over to the 2-hour mark, so I guess we probably should start wrapping things up a bit.
It's all up to you.
Yes.
Has anybody out there got some stuff to say?
Anybody got any questions or talking points, comments, or questions for us before?
You got Hiroshi loves you says, I didn't even know it was a different Ichab actor.
Well, yeah, I guess that would happen when you're covered in blood and got your eyeball plucked out of your head. It's probably easy to make that mistake or not recognize somebody.
And Andrew Reynolds clarifies that Meryl Paris was born in 2378,
so she'd be
21 years
nice
old.
One, Andrew. Thanks for that bit of genealogical research. So yeah, actually one thing I thought when I heard about Chris Rios, this character and the ship and everything, that's sort of almost the role that would have been a perfect kind of Tom Paris kind of type thing. Because when you think about it, he had a bit of a sketchy past. He was in prison for a bit. Janeway busted him out. He always had a bit of a problem with authority and everything, and he was always like the big. He
was the first Michael Burnham.
Yeah. He was like he was always a fan of. He was a gun pilot. He liked the retro stuff. You could kind of see him as a kind of a sort of a fat old kind of grumpy kind of Tom Paris who's kind of just out there running freelance missions in his own ship, piloting in his own ship. He's kind of distanced himself from Starfleet as well. So he's kind of almost like. A little bit like the Rios character, but just an older version. But I kind of see how you clearly couldn't fill this show up with 50-plus-year-old actors in every single role. Yeah. You need to kind of pace it out.
You could, but yeah, I definitely don't want a whole bunch of these old characters to take over, just because it's Star Trek Picard. It's nice to get caught up with Picard, but I think it would get a little too campy if we had too many of these other characters showing up for too long.
Exactly. Yeah, that's right. But I'm sure they're going to bring back other cameos, for next season, as we know with Guinan, and I think and I think even Alex Kurtzman said that they would like to bring back all number of characters from Voyager, DS9, and Next Generation sort of thing, for little appearances. When those appearances become, when
they have a reason to bring them back, because. Yeah. So far, all these cameos, which they've doled out over the season, as opposed to I assumed before watching the series that they were all going to be in the first 2 episodes, but no, they have stretched them out a little bit at a time, so it doesn't overshadow the story, it doesn't overshadow Picard, and each one of them has had a pretend. So we'll be getting caught up with her again. But yeah, I like how no one is stealing any stage time, really. They all have their purpose for showing up, and apparently that was one of the things they had to agree upon when they decided to bring out some of these characters.
Excellent. Yeah, I think that's a good philosophy to have for the show. Well, seeing as how we've been going for a bit over 2 hours, we'll probably maybe wrap it up now. But thanks, JP, for coming along and being part of the live stream today. Much appreciated. Should we do?
I appreciate you having me.
Great to have you on. Maybe one time I'll guest in one of your streams, or we'll do it again sometime.
Absolutely.
I'd like to thank everybody else who've been part of the live chat as well, and your questions and comments and everything as always. And if any of you are not subscribed to either my channel or JP's channel, please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this with everybody else, as we always say. And I will see you guys next time, and you'll see JP and myself on our respective channels for our upcoming Star Trek Picard reviews and all that sort of stuff. But until next time, we'll say see you later. Thanks for joining us.
Jalo, Jalong, and prosper.